Dave Brock is one of the good guys. He's great company and one-third of the brilliant Triple Cream, a top-notch comedy music trio who've been at the top of their game for over 40 years. Dave and I talk about today the Beach Boys, Opportunity Knocks, Bobby Davro, Steve Everington, Bermuda, and the golfing cabaret and club circuit that seems to be fading away even before 2020 happened. Dave's also in demand as a music arranger and writer and produced many music for acts and artists. In January 1993, Dave appeared in BBC's TV EastEnders, playing piano in the Queen Vic. Triple Cream have been seen in many top venues, including the London Palladium, the NEC Birmingham, Lakeside Camberley, Tower Ballroom in Blackpool, Winter Gardens Blackpool, and across the spectrum in the corporate world for Ford UK, Shell UK, Pinewood Studios, British Airways, Metropolitan Police, British Telecom, the list goes on. Check out these reviews for Triple Cream. Multi-talented comedy show band Triple Cream performed what must be just about the perfect comedy set. Funny from start to finish, absolutely clean, suitable for all audiences, topical and immensely likeable. There are not many acts around as good as this. They are far better and more original than most of the acts that pass for comedy on television. The stage and television today. Triple Cream are masters of keeping their audiences amused and entertained. The Royal Gazette, Bermuda. Triple Cream are quite simply one of the most accomplished and in-demand comedy acts in the UK. Included was their show business rap and celebrated dustbins routine. A naughty Teletubbies sketch with side-splitting finale has also been introduced. The stage and television today. And the Bermuda Sun said individually talented, collectively, these guys are brilliant. Dear Dave, just to say thank you for all your help with the rap game for Bruce Forsyth's Generation Game. The game opened the show with gusto and was a great success. Jan Gordon at BBC Television. Great show, lads, very funny. Sir Norman Wisdom. Dave Brock is a brother water rat and we have enjoyed a trip to Charlie Chaplin's home in Switzerland together. Many laughs in Lodge and at Water Rats Balls in London for our annual celebration. Dave is a busy man and you can tell he loves his work and life. At times he sounds like a cat that's got the triple cream. Since this recording, Dave and the Water Rats have lost a very special member of our world, the funny man Johnny Clark. So I would like to dedicate this edition of Eyes and Teeth to a great golfer, a great friend to so many, and a great comedian and family man. Bless you, Johnny Clark. Welcome to musician and comedian Dave Brock.
I'm sitting there, I've got a coffee in one hand, sitting in my nice comfy chair.
I was wondering what was in the other hand.
The phone, unfortunately.
Oh, yes, of course. Dave, welcome to Eyes and Teeth.
How you doing, mate? You all right?
Triple Cream. There are 3 members of your extremely funny and talented comedy trio, but just say one of you left. Would you replace it with a member, or would you consider calling it Double Cream as a new star? Or how did the name Triple Cream come about?
Right. Well, that's several good questions there. Let me state first of all, some of your listeners might. When you say I've got Dave Brock on, I share my name with someone who's a lot more famous than me, who is the lead singer of Hawkwind, who has a big hit back in the day, back in the late 60s, I think it was, with Silver Machine.
Yes.
In fact, they're still going. So us showbiz lovies, we now and again we like to Google ourselves. Well, if I Google me, I might end up being on page 44 after the other 43 pages of Dave Brock from Hawkwind.
Oh, bless you. I was going to bring up the other Dave Brock because he was a keyboard player, wasn't he? And founder member of the Hawkwind band. So he's taken all your keyboard work and your name. What's going on there?
Yeah, I know. I didn't know he was a keyboard player as well. But I know he's been the leader. In fact, I did speak to him once when we did a couple of tours in the 80s with the comedian Jimmy Jones. His manager at the time was a guy called Neil Warnock, who's still going. He's got a massive company called The Agency, and he managed Jimmy for a couple of years, more of a hobby because he managed Iron Maiden, and all they ever did on their tour was listen to Jimmy Jones' albums and tapes.
That's fascinating. Wow.
And they kept saying, Neil, their manager, you got to book this guy, you know. Anyway, so he became friendly with Jimmy, and he sort of got him. He managed him for a couple of years as a bit of fun because light entertainment wasn't really Neil's forte. It was, he's the agent for Pink Floyd,
big bands.
When Brian Wilson comes over, that's all down to Neil, and he also looks after Hawkwind, funny enough. So one day when I did phone Neil, his secretary put me through. She said, "It's Dave Brock." He picked up the phone. He said, "Dave Brock, I'm talking to Dave Brock on the other line. Say hello." He sort of turned the two phones round. I shouted out hello down, and this guy, obviously Dave Brock, said hello back. And so my claim to fame is I actually have spoken to Dave Brock. The other one.
So have I today.
We're not talking about him, are we? We're talking about me, but I only pointed that out in case some of your listeners were somewhat deflated when they found out it was me.
Well, you're my favourite, Dave Brock. That's why I've called you and not the other one. No.
In answer to your other question about the name, Triple Cream, it is a name we've been embarrassed with quite a lot because it came about when I was 17 and my mum, I was an only child, a very spoiled only child with a very proud mum and dad, and they knew I was going to go into showbiz as a musician.
Yeah.
And I had a trio, and my mum said, "Well, you're doing all these lovely dinner dances for the Masons and the round table and weddings, so single cream is lovely, double cream is wonderful, but triple cream is obviously the best, Dave, so call yourselves that, because there's three of you,
Oh, brilliant.
Bless her. It was a great name for a dinner dance band in the 70s, but when we became a comedy act, it didn't really sort of mean anything comedy-wise, but and you know what it is with names in the end? They just become nonsensical. It's just two words that mean the three of us.
Yeah.
Without analysing it. So, but obviously when people hear it for the first time, they try and analyse it. But that's it. That's the story behind it. It was down to my mum. And once you start to get a little bit of a name for yourselves and a reputation, you're loath to change it. I mean, we did try and change it once when Bobby Dabro. I became very friendly with Bobby on a tour we did for Draft Guinness when it first came out in Cairns.
With the widget.
Actually, it's when it first came out as a draft beer.
Oh,
Before
okay.
then it had just been bottles. And this was 1982, 1983. So what Guinness did, they said to all the clubs and pubs in the UK, whoever can increase their barrelage of Guinness can have the Jim Bowen Bullseye show live in the club. so we was booked as the band. Jim Bowen obviously was there to do the quiz, an edited down version of what the TV thing was. A girl singer, and they said, "Well, we need a speciality act." So there's this young impressionist guy, he's pretty good, called Bobby Dabro, who again, he wasn't a name. And I used to share a room with him because obviously it was three of us, so the other two shared a room, and I shared the room with Bob. I've lost my thread of why I'm talking about. What was I talking about? I'm going on. I'm getting old, mate. I'm getting old.
Can you get the other Dave Brock on the phone?
That might be better.
No, you were talking about names, weren't you? Triple Cream, you were talking about names and you were going to change it at one point.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right. So I got friendly with Bobby. He then, sort of during that tour, he got the Live from a Majesty's, it was called.
Right, yeah.
On a Wednesday night, and he suddenly flew from that point and was a big star. And on his way to getting his own Saturday night shows, he got this regular appearance on the show called The Crankies Club with Jimmy and Ian Cranky. It was a kids show on a Saturday evening.
Okay, wow.
Called The Crankies Club. It had a capital K, Crankies Club. And they said, we want Bobby to do a musical impression each week. So he'll need a band. So very kindly, Bobby put us forward, and we did the interview and got the gig. And they asked us to take part in all the little sketches and things. So when there was an opposition sketch, me and Brian, the drummer, we'd be the two that dressed up in brown coats and brought in a table or something and then walked out again. We had all these extra parts. So we were called on that show the spare parts, because we also had a guitarist join us, so we couldn't be called Triple Cream because there was four of us. And then we thought, well, we're TV stars now, we can change our name to the Spare Parts. So we tried it for a while, and it was a much better comedy name, to be fair.
Yeah.
Parts, but everyone kept saying, well, about Triple, by then we'd been established for, 15 years as Triple Cream, mainly as a musical band, I must admit. But so we only did that for a couple of months, and we reverted back to Triple Cream again. But so yeah, sorry, that's why I was talking about Bobby, because it was him who got us that show.
Ice and Teeth.
Me and Brian started in 1976.
You two are the originals in the group, and Harvey came a bit later, didn't he?
Yeah, we call Harvey the new bloke because he's only been with us 31 years.
Wow. Well, I still see Bruce Johnson as one of the Beach Boys, and he joined, 15 years later, but Bruce Johnson to me is a Beach Boy, or Glenn Campbell even, and he popped in for a few years.
I'm as big a fan as you are, Steve. In fact, two of my favourite Beach Boys songs are Disney Girls and Deirdre, both written by...
Mine too, and do you know what? They're the most unknown Beach Boys songs out there. The albums... it was Jimmy Townley that got me deeper into the Beach Boys when I was roadieing for him. And he would put the 70s, not just the 60s CDs on. I'd end up buying Sunflower and all of those, Surf's Up, all of those great albums of the Beach Boys that... And yeah, Disney Girls, Bruce Johnson, isn't it? Disney Girls, what a song. Yeah. Incredible.
But of course, Brian with all that harmonies, in the background, still doing all the parts. Brilliant.
They were great, and I got to see the Beach Boys at Wembley. I went with Jimmy Townley actually, and so it was when Carl Wilson was still with us, and so we had Carl, Mike, and Al Jardine, Bruce Johnson, but there was no Brian Wilson then. But in 1999, I found out Brian Wilson was coming back, and then I took Jimmy to Royal Festival Hall to see the return of Brian Wilson, and my mind was blown. I've seen him like 5-6 times now since then. Have you seen Brian live?
I saw him at the Royal Festival Hall, and there's a story about that as well, because my brother-in-law, my wife's brother Jim, he's not really a Beach Boys fan, but he's got a friend who works in the city. He said, look, my mate, he's the biggest Beach Boys fan in the world, and he wants to. He's got these tickets. He's got 4 tickets to see Brian Wilson. He said, I'll go along. He said that he wants 2 other massive fans to enjoy it with him. Can you come along? He doesn't want any money for the tickets. He'll treat you, but he just wants to be with like-minded people. So
yeah.
My old schoolmate John, we used to listen when we were kids. We used to listen to all the Beach Boy stuff and teenagers and that. So we went, but the story was we sat for it because Brian finished the first half with the track Surf's Up. Which, if you're not a Beach Boys fan, as you know, Steve, it's a very weird song.
Yeah.
And my brother-in-law couldn't take any more, and he said, I can't take any more of this, I'm going home.
No.
You two stay with Andrew because you two are loving it, and so is he. Well, anyway, we watched the whole show, and as we're walking down the steps to an exit, this guy I've just telling you about, Neil Warnock, the agent, who I hadn't seen since that tour we did with Jimmy in '88, so this is a good 15 years later.
Oh wow!
He suddenly went, Dave. I said, he went, Neil, and I was with my friend John, and this Andrew guy wasn't. He was still getting out of his seat. We were meeting him in the bar.
Yeah.
Anyway, he said, do you want to come and meet Brian? Neil said.
Wow.
And I went, yeah. He said, right, come through this door. We went through this door right by the stage. It got slammed behind, so me and my mate are there, and we looked at each other. Where's Andrew, the guy who's paid for the tickets from?
Oh no!
We said, well, it's too late to go back now. So, anyway, they took us into the green room. We were having canapes and drinks with all the band.
Wow!
And then Brian came in, and you know what Brian's like. He just sort of came in and said, "Hello, everyone," and he was very nervous.
Yeah.
But anyway, we shook his hand and we just said, we were so much in awe. All both of us could say was, thank you, for all the music.
Yeah.
And we got him to sign. We got him to sign a poster because we thought that's the least we can do is give Andrew this signed. And so we went out. So we were in there about half an hour. We met Andrew in the bar. He said, "Where you boys been?" We said, "Oh, you won't believe this."
Oh no!
And he went, "No." He said, "Oh, I understand why you couldn't just say to this guy, well, hang on a minute while we find our friend. You had to go." But he was very grateful for the signed poster. But yeah, that was a good story.
Oh, that's an amazing story. I didn't know you were such an avid fan of Brian. When I was 24, Dave, I met up with a mate of mine called John King, and we really started to get into the Beach Boys because Brian Wilson announced that he was going on tour again, and I just finished reading a book. My first book I ever remember reading all the way through was Brian Wilson's Wouldn't It Be Nice, and it blew me away. And it was shortly after that Brian started touring again, and I saw him like 3 or 4 times, and then he booked a show in Eastbourne. He came to my hometown, Brian and his band, and I thought, there's no way I'm missing this. So I booked my tickets. We sat right at the back of the venue at the Congress in Eastbourne. I had a camera in the back of my car, but I left it there. And so we got our drinks, got our seats, and I said to Nino, Nino, I need to go and get my camera. I got to get pictures of this. And I ran out, and I looked at stage door, because I went past it. The lead vocal singer of the group at that time, Jeffrey Foskett, was standing at stage door. You know, the one who took over all the falsetto notes.
Yeah, great singer.
And a great guitarist, fantastic singer, a big guy, wasn't he? And
very big.
He was standing there, and I had to go and say, I had my program with me, luckily, because I wouldn't let go of it once I had it. And I said, Jeffrey, would you mind signing this? And then he was signing the program. I was talking to him. I said, I'm really looking forward to this tonight. And then somebody nicked the pen from over my shoulder. And I looked around, and Brian was standing behind me. And he started to sign his name on my program. And I was just like you. I said, oh, my God, I've loved you since I was a child. I said, thank you. And I said, I love you, Brian. And he said, thank you. He said thank you twice to me. But I was like, my mouth was open when you were telling me this Brian story. But my mouth was open when Brian nicked the pen off me over my shoulder. Yeah. He just signed the program. I shook his hand.
That was a great story as well. Funny enough, he came to I think the last time I saw him was about 3 years ago, and my son bought me a ticket for Father's Day because he came to Southend, my hometown. He came to the Cliffs Pavilion.
Yeah, I saw that he'd done that. Wow.
And you can't believe it. You're thinking, Brian Wilson, he's in my hometown.
That's what I thought.
And in the Cliffs, the good thing about the Cliffs is they can take all the seats out. So it was a stand-up concert.
Oh.
So you could sit, we were standing sort of 10 people from, it was so near. Although, having said that, the Royal Festival Hall gigs were great for that. It was not like, much better than seeing them in a stadium, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, the intimacy of seeing Brian in there. I saw Brian at the Albert Hall, and I was quite close to the stage where he'd walk in. But mate, I love that connection. I didn't know we had that connection with Brian.
No. Just one more thing about that gig at Southend. I was so surprised that Al Jardine's son was singing all the falsetto bits on that. Jeffrey wasn't there on that gig, and also
right.
Suddenly they said, we're going to do Sail on Sailor. Please welcome on stage Blondie Chaplin, and he came on and sung Sail on Sailor and a couple of other things from the Holland album. You know.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Wow.
You know. That
Holland album's amazing. I love all those albums, and the Brian Wilson album, which I think came out in '88. I just loved that album and everything he's done. I just think he's a genius, and well, it's not just me. He is a genius, and Brian Wilson, that's incredible. Yeah. I was just clearing out programs from my storage yesterday, bringing them all back in the house. And I looked at all my Brian Wilson ones this morning, and I opened the page that I knew Brian signed, and I got all the band to sign. I waited till after the show, and I got the rest of the band to sign it as well. But I look at Brian's signature. All he signed was Brian, and it's a bit scruffy because it was like freehand, you know. But it was upside down. It's actually upside down because he never turned the book round. He just signed it where he was.
Oh, concertos.
Music is obviously key. It's part of your life, and you're starting out actually in a proper band. When I say proper band, I mean a music band where you're not doing comedy at that point. You introduced that later on. Is that right, Dave?
Yeah, so we started in '76, me, Brian, and funny enough, it was a sax player to start with, and none of us sang. But in those days, you could just get gigs, 6 nights a week, just doing that, just playing instrumentals, and agents would ring us and book us to do shows, because we both read music, Brian and I. So we did a hell of a lot of gigs, working around clubs and all over the place, just back in the shows, back in the acts. Because in those days, if a singer wanted to sing, there wasn't even cassette tape back in then. It was you either had your sheet music or you didn't sing. Simple as that.
Yeah, no mini disc. No.
And as a reading musician, a reading keyboard player and drummer, we got, and because I spent so much money on gear as well, I always made sure I had the best gear, you know, and loads of keyboards, because well, we can talk about Rick Wakeman another time, but Rick was my hero, you know, with all those keyboards that he used to stand and play, and, you know, I wore out during the centre of the year, but I think I had 5 vinyl albums in the end that just wore out, and who'd have thought, we'll probably come on to this later on, who'd have thought he'd become a mate, you know.
Yeah.
I had to pinch myself every time I talked to him, but because he was such a hero. I spent a lot of money on gear, so we made a big sound for a duo, me and Brian, and then it was only a couple of years later, 78. Then this guy called Mick joined us, who sang as well. He was playing bass in the resident band at the Empire, Leicester Square, that had always had a resident band for years, and so he joined us, and he was with us 7 years till 1985. We were resident band at the King's Holiday Park, and then we do these theatre shows where we bump into an agent called Jack Sharp. We did, I think, in 1981. I think we did every Sunday at the North Pier, Blackpool, with Martin St James the Tiss one week, and the Black Abbots the next. And,
oh wow, it's a great history of variety acts.
We were backing the rest of the acts on the show, if you know what I mean, and
yeah,
opening up with a number, and just learned our craft that way. And all the time, of course, we're looking at other comedy acts and sort of analysing what they do, how they get laughs, and not really thinking ever in those days that we would become a comedy act. We would just enjoy being with them, and then suddenly the guy at the Johnny Clark, who you probably know, is a fellow Walteretti, and he's a good friend of mine.
Yes.
I was playing golf with him yesterday. He was the resident compere at the King's Club, and then we were the band, and in the summer seasons of probably 80, 81, 82, he would say, look, once a week on a Wednesday night, I want us to do a show, you know, we called it the gang show, but it'll be you lot and me, and he said, so let's sit down and see if we can come up with some comedy sketches and things like that. And that was if you like, the seeds of our comedy show. That's where we got the dustbin routine which isn't a comedy routine, but it's a routine we still do now.
Yeah.
Finish our show.
No, it's very visual, isn't it? It's
but
brilliant.
That came from there, and me and Brian would do Laura and Hardy, you know, and then I would do Renee and Renato. I'd be Renee, and I had a big hit called Save My Love, and I'd have this dummy, you know, doing the ladies' part.
Really?
So I'd sing the mime to the male bit, and then it was all done to mime into the record, and then when she sang, I just made the mouth of the dummy move, you know. When you look back, it was very basic. I mean, why that was funny, I don't know, but I think what it was, the audience knew us as the band, and knew Johnny as the sort of DJ compere, and they just thought, well, look, they're having a go at doing something else, and they sort of, I don't know, we just got away with it, and once you get laughs, as you know, once you start, it's a bit...
It becomes addictive, doesn't it? Yeah.
Well, it's a drug, isn't it?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I love that. I love that. Oh, well, let's do more next year. And so we did all these routines, you know, and we did a whole Top of the Pops thing each year where we did madness into something else. And that was, you know, how we eventually got into... And then 88, when we toured with Jimmy Jones, was the first time we actually went out just being a comedy act. You know, we did the first half on his show.
Yeah.
The comedian called Mickey Pugh, he was a compere. And
oh yeah, great Mickey. Yeah.
And then of course we become a band in the second half where we backed Jimmy, because Jimmy Jones loved to sing as well as being a comedian. So
yeah.
So we would kill 2 or 3 birds with one stone. An agent could book us and think, well, hang on, we could get them to do a comedy act, and they'll back the rest of the show.
As long as you got paid extra for that, I hope.
Well, I don't know. We were always paid very well anyway, because we made a big noise for 3 of us. You know, we probably got the same dough as some 5 or 6 piece bands.
Right. Okay.
Because by then Brian was singing.
Yeah.
Suddenly he started singing, and he was a brilliant singer. You know, without knowing it, the drummer. And then we had the Chaz and Dave started in the early 80s, and I'm not a great singer, but I could knock out a Chaz and Dave, all the Chaz and Dave stuff, and of course that made us popular as well, doing Cockney nights and things like that. So the late 70s and all through the 80s was a great time for us. When we were young, we were in our 30s, and
A perfect time for a young.
Everything's in front of you. You think, well, I might be a star one day. You just thought of everything's exciting. Not saying it's not now.
No, but we still sit here, thinking, oh yeah, it's going to be my time this year. You think, it's going to come knocking. But we do what we do because we love it, don't we, Dave? It continues, and they say that the business. You don't leave the business leaves you, and so it will always be there. And hopefully, well, we say not this year, but hopefully it will always be there. Now, you mentioned about the singing. Now, you talked about miming with the puppet, and I remember working with you the first time I saw Triple Cream, and just loved you guys, all three of you. You, Brian and Harvey, and we were doing a show for Willow in the Midlands, I think, for Bob. Do you remember that?
Yes, it was only about 4 or 5 years ago, wasn't it?
It wasn't that long ago.
6 years ago?
Yeah, and I did one of my old classic things with Ponga the Skunk and Tiny Tina, and I was miming with one of the characters because I think it was a Frozen song that I was doing, Let It Go or something, and my other puppet, my skunk puppet, would interrupt. But you noticed the miming, didn't you? Because you done something really nice at the end. You give me some advice about sort of toning down some of the vocals on the track because you could tell there was a bit of miming going on. Whereas I fooled a lot of the audience.
Something to do with reverb, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like a reverb on the track. And
yeah.
then
not on the mic.
There was no reverb on the mic, so you could. There was a distinction between the two sounds. That's all it was, I think.
Yes, and although it's a fresh routine, I've not had anybody, professional enough to come up to me and be honest, and I loved that you gave me that. But Bob, forgive me, Bob Wilson, yes, lovely guy. Yeah. His wife and him come up to me after the show, and they complimented me on the singing, and I felt so bad. But you kind of don't want to ruin the illusion because I'm being praised by Bob Wilson and his lovely wife, and it's for the Willow, Foundation, which is a wonderful charity. We all had such a great night, didn't we, that night?
It was great, yeah. It really was, yeah. There's a really good girl singer on, I can't remember her name now. It's Angie someone.
Was it Angie Brown? I think.
It was, that's it, Angie Brown, yeah. I've never worked with her before or since, but she was...
yeah, no, she's wonderful. I've done a few nights with her, but on that night, that's when I started... The reason I fell in love with your band as well was because you were very Beach Boy-esque. Your vocals and your harmonies in the group is something you obviously worked hard on, you three as a group, and when you do the a cappella stuff as well.
Yeah, I think it's Harvey arranges all that. He's very clever. He plays bass with one hand and keyboards with the other hand in the band. So
wow.
When he joined the band, the sound of the band got even bigger because suddenly there's me playing keyboards, him playing bass with one hand and keyboards with the other, and then all three of us singing. But he's got a bass voice, very very deep voice. Brian's got a really high voice, and invariably I sort of sing. If we're doing a 3-part thing, I'll do the one in the middle, which is invariably the tune, and the other two are doing the other 2 parts. But people say we should have done more of that over the years, and perhaps we should really. But especially maybe comedy, a cappella things. But maybe we will in the future. But no, thanks for saying that. Just the three of us somehow blend. The voices sort of blend for people that don't blend.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, little mix. Or there's other groups out there. It's important for you guys to get on so well on stage that you do blend that well, and it has to feel natural, doesn't it? It sounded natural.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about you guys for so long. Triple Cream on the cabaret circuit is a big name. It's when I started out in like 97, you'd see like 10x8 Denman repros on the dressing room walls, and Triple Cream was up there, and you get all these big cabaret names, and Mick Miller and Johnny Laff, all of the. Just trying to think like Baron Knights and stuff, all of the cabaret sort of names up there, but Triple Cream has always been a name I heard of when I started out. So it was nice to finally meet you.
Yeah. Likewise, Steve. I mean, it's funny. You probably have the same feelings as well. Although I know you've had success on on Britain's Got Talent when you came third in the final.
I'll take third. Yeah.
But back in the day, we did Opportunity Knocks with when Bob Monkhouse brought it back in '89.
Yep, that's the one I remember. Op Knox with Bob Monkhouse. That's the one when I was probably 10 or something when it came out. And so '89, you was on that.
Yeah, I said to you before, we had Mick Harding was the bass player between '78 and '85, and then for 5 years we had Steve Edrington as playing bass.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Steve's a fellow water rat. He's a musical rat, and it was in those 5 years that we morphed into being the comedy acts. But Steve was never. It wasn't in his blood, the comedy. He went along with it, but he didn't like it. He wanted to be an out-and-out musician, and he's an incredible musician.
He's a very serious musician, isn't he? But he's incredible about what he does. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the Rubettes at the moment.
Yeah, great producer.
Musical director for all of the Born Leisure Butlin stuff. He's got this Ibiza pop, like classical Ibiza, where they're playing pop music with an orchestra. So Steve never stops. He's got his own recording studio, and at the end of '89, after we'd done this, funny enough, we'd done Op Knox and everything. He just said, "Like, it's not for me. I just want to play music." And we said, fair enough. That's when we got Harvey in. But I'm only saying that because we did well on Op Knox. It was a good spot. The producer Stuart Morris, he really sort of. We did the audition.
Yeah.
At Riverside Studios in London, and it was very rough around the edges. And we were doing things like Stevie Wonder with a black stocking over your head, which is completely unacceptable now, and it should have been then, but it wasn't. People were doing it.
Yeah.
Times. But anyway, Stuart Morris is the producer. We finished the audition, just packing up, get the stuff in the car, and the floor manager came out of the audition room and said, "Look, he wants to speak to you," the producer. And we said, "Oh, really?" He said, "Look, this is a good thing. He doesn't want to speak to many people, so if he wants to speak to you, it can only be good news." So anyway, we walked over to him, and he had this fierce sort of face, and he just said to the three of us, "Right, I'm going to record you three for another audition." He said, "You lot think you're better than you are. So clean yourselves up. Rehearse in front of a mirror. Look at yourselves. It's tatty. Forget that Stevie one. I'm not having that. Do this, do that." We said, "Yes, sir. No, sir. 3 bags full, sir."
Wow.
And we really got our act together and rehearsed this 3 minutes. Came back. He went, "Yes, that's it. You're on." And,
did you at the time, Dave? Did you appreciate that, or was you thinking, "Who the hell does he think he is?" Because you took it as good advice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who were we to argue with him?
Yeah.
I mean, you and I have probably both seen in our time acts that would have told him to sod off.
I know some people who would have, yeah. But as young lads, sort of, given that opportunity to do a TV show, you want it to be the best. And the producer, went out of his way to pull you aside and actually give you some good advice. In a way, that's a great, omen, isn't it?
It was great. And we did the show, and it went well. As you know, they used to have the clapometer in the studio. And we won off inside the studio. We got the best sort of score on the clapometer, and then it was funny enough. It was the last heat of the series, and so the following week, the winner of our show was on again. Doing in the final, and unfortunately we didn't win. A woman called Brenda Cochran, a singer, she won.
What's she done since?
It sounds like sound grapes. It probably is. We then found out that she'd already been signed up as Bob Monkhouse's sort of support act for his forthcoming tour.
Okay.
And there were lots of other things, like she was the only one in the final that sung a different song to everyone else had to do exactly the same as they'd done in their heat. No one was allowed to wear jewellery, but she was, and there's lots of things like that.
Would you remember something like this? Like, was she on the actual show on that night? Was she on last? as opposed to being first on that night, because that makes a big difference on talent shows today. You know, if they really if they're earmarking, if they're earmarking somebody to win it, then they'll put them on right at the end.
Oh, controversial.
It makes a difference, yeah.
But even the clapometer, to be honest with you, I said we won on the clapometer.
Yeah.
But on the heat that we did, there was a choir, and they had all their family in, every member of the choir.
Oh.
It was absolutely deafening there, of course.
It's going to be, isn't it?
But when you watch it on the telly, we won on the clapometer, so...
Well, that means more than anything, isn't it? You should have had Dave and the Brockettes, and you should have had like about 50 Brockettes backing you or something.
Yeah, we were very grateful for the opportunity, and then when Harvey joined, and in '91 we got our other sort of nice telly. Apart from those things we did with Bobby Davo back in '84 as a spare part, that was our introduction to TV, if you like, and we were on every week for 6 weeks.
Because you kept going back, didn't you? After you win, you go back, and like I know Bernie Flint went back week after week after week, and because he kept winning. Yeah. So that's amazing.
And then in '91 we got our dustbin routine Generation Game with Brucey, which was great. You know, we opened the show with that game, and they loved it. You know, because obviously you do the routine, and then the two punters have to join. You know, 2 of us drop out, and one of us stay behind and try to guide the 2 punters through it. He's there, you know, Brucey's there saying, "No, it's the bloody thing. What are you doing?" And it was great. And funny enough, there's a story there as well, because on the day of recording that, and I tell you, this is weird. It was tomorrow, November 6th, 1991. So 29 years ago tomorrow.
Wow.
That's when we did it. Only the reason I remember the date is because Brian's wife, we're on the tube on the way to White City to
BBC.
You know, to do the camera rehearsals and all that, because the show was being recorded that night.
Okay.
His wife went into labour on the way into the bloody thing.
Oh God, you don't forget that. I bet he's on tenterhooks.
Yeah, so we got there, and I had to say to one of the production staff, Brian's, he might be a bit on, you know, as you say, on tenterhooks today, because his wife's just gone into labour. And with that, they've gone over and talked to Bruce Forsyth, who then he said, "Right, everybody, everyone gather around in the studio, everybody." And he said, "Right, we're changing the whole the routine today. I want Triple Cream's camera check and rehearsal first, you know, because you have to rehearse the game with 2 extras like bring in."
Yeah.
Because they want to find out how people are going to react to the game.
Okay.
So I want them done first, so the boys can get away, and Brian can get back on the train, get to Southend Hospital, see his baby born, and then come back for the show tonight.
Wow.
And I know. And they completely rearranged the whole day. And we did that. Brian went home, baby was born, he came back, and at the end of our spot, and it was, I've still got the clip. It's still, Bruce said, and lovely game from Triple Cream, and Brian, his wife today, has given birth to a lovely baby boy, whose name is Bruce. He used to look in the camera. He used to look in the camera like blue eyes.
With the punchline.
His name is, and then a close-up, Bruce. Got the laugh, and then gave him a cuddly toy.
Oh, wow. That is a lovely story.
It's James's birthday. He's 29 tomorrow.
So you're not going to forget that. That's amazing. And did you does he exist? Did you make up the baby thing because you had a double on that day? You had to Oh, mate, no, thanks for that. That's a great story.
Really, after that, we didn't really do any more telly. You know, it was when Jim Davison then took over the Generation Game probably in the late 90s, early 90s.
Yes.
They talked about bringing the game back, but we didn't. So they didn't. They decided to do something else. But no,
never did. No, I done a similar thing, Dave. I done Britain's Got Talent. That was your opportunity, Knox, and then I done my game show, which was Eggheads, and I've not really seen any telly since. So it happens to the best of us. You know.
I know, and I was going to say earlier on, you know, in some ways, when you were talking about our name would be up in dressing rooms and that, we had a bit of a name for ourselves. But I always feel, even though we've had a great career, and I wouldn't change anything, if only we'd have started that comedy side of things 10 years earlier,
yeah,
we would have maybe got some of the spots on Live from Her Majesty's, Up for the Cup, all these. There was like loads of programmes where they needed Seaside Special. They needed acts like us and you.
yeah, definitely, mate. That would have helped, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you and us back in the day, you know, would definitely have been made names of ourselves.
I know that. Yeah, there would have been room for everybody, wouldn't there? Back then, where there was the TV and there was the venues, the cabaret venues, and summer seasons. Everything was bigger back in the 80s.
Yeah, you know, it's a different world we live in now. You know, the big names now, they're not interested in a club. They you know, look at Michael McIntyre or Mickey Flanagan. I mean, they can make a million or just in one night at the O2, can't they? You know,
yeah.
Why would they want to do anything else? And then they have a whole year off when they can write another routine, so they can do another run at the O2 the year after that. It's a different world, you know. Nobody even did theatres back in the 70s and 80s. They only did the theatre for summer season and panto. And I think the first person to start doing theatres as like one-nighters was Freddie Starr.
Yeah.
And he suddenly realised he could make more by doing a sort of spec take on a theatre than turning up at the Circus Tavern or where I used to work, King's at Candy. Of course, there was a King's at Eastport. And
of course.
In fact, I did a week there with Freddie at King's at Eastport.
Did you? Did you work with Jimmy Jones there as well?
Yeah, Jimmy Jones there as well. Yeah.
Do you know what, Dave? Just quickly, I've got an album in my vinyl collection, and I've only got about 20 albums. But one of them is Jimmy Jones live at King's, and he signed it on the back. But you'll probably be playing on that.
Might be. We're certainly on. He recorded a video there, and we're on stage with him on the video.
Wow.
Or DVD as it would be now.
Yeah.
I think it was a DVD. Yeah, it was towards the end of his popularity.
Yeah. Have you read his biography by Gary Bushell?
No.
It's a good book. Good biography, that.
Is it?
Yeah, really nice.
I'll have to get that. Yeah, it was. But yeah, he was. I mean, again, he was a comic of his day. Because he never actually ever swore, Jimmy. He just his catchphrase was "Kinnell."
Kinnell, yeah. And
he would open his show by saying, "I've got a catchphrase. It's Kinnell, which means blinking hell. And if you believe that, you believe it." You know, something like that.
It's very, very clever play on words, wasn't it? But he was. I supported him once, you know, and he was just such a lovely guy, really nice backstage, and he was really interested in me, you know, and wanted to know how am I doing, and you know, thanks for doing the gig. He was just really modest, and he said thanks for supporting me. You know what I mean? It was so nice for him to have any interest in me.
He was nice, and the other thing about him was that me and Brian in particular, you know, we talk a lot about acts and study acts and that. And we did those two tours with 88. We did 28 theatres, I think, all around, and the same the year after in 89. And on every single show, he did a different act. I mean, I'm not saying he didn't repeat gags, he did.
Yeah.
But they were never in the same order. Every night there was at least one gag he'd never done before. Because we were used to working with all the comics, Mike Reid in particular,
word for word.
An act,
yeah.
That he did not veer from. I mean, I'm talking, it was an act, you know, in every sense of the word. He was a great act. He acted his character really well, and he did not veer from the script. It was a script of 48 minutes that he did, come what may.
Yeah, yeah.
And he did it for years and years and years and never changed it. And people did get, it was a little bit tiresome towards the end, but of course, as soon as he became EastEnders, it didn't matter anymore. He was God anyway. But Jimmy never did that, and me and Brian would look at each other, and think, where did that gag come from? Because what sparked it? No one said anything in the audience. He's never done that. You know, we used to try and analyse his brain. What's happened there for this gag to come into his head?
Yeah.
Yet another gag, or it was quite phenomenal actually. Watching Jimmy, he was so different to every other comic.
Yeah, he was. He's very funny though, very funny, and like a gangster, wasn't he? He had the jewelry. I think if I remember, he had a lot of gold jewelry on. He just seemed like a gangster, but funny gangster.
Funny enough, talking about Opportunity Knocks, he went on in the 60s when Huey Green did it, as his real name's Albert Simmons, and he went on as Albert Simmons, the Whistling Wonder.
No.
And he whistled, honestly, he whistled birds.
Jimmy Jones.
This is a crow. He's a brilliant whistler, Jimmy. Absolutely brilliant.
Thrush.
That was his act. He went on Opportunity Knocks as Albert Simmons, the Whistling Wonder.
No, I never. Do you know what? I'm going to have to reread the biography because I know. Is he there?
Yeah, whether he'll put that in, he should have put it in the biography because it's true. He told us. But he was a, no, you're right, he's a great comic, and he was like a gangster, but he was a docker. He was a docker at Tilbury Docks, and that was just the way. And obviously Bob Wheatley had a load of venues, and he suddenly became the compere at the Standard. I think it was called the Royal Standard at Walthamstow. That's where he learnt his craft.
We all start somewhere, don't we, Dave? No, if you leave school when you're like 15, you're either going to be an entrepreneur or an entertainer. Now, weren't you 15 when you left school? Did you to play piano?
Yeah, funny enough, I started to learn piano when I was only about 9, and then I was really into organs. My mum and dad, I kept pestering them for an organ, 2 keyboards and the pedals you play with your feet.
Yeah.
And I always say that I'm a better organist than a pianist because, I'm pretty good with my feet on the pedals. Even now, it's something you never forget. It's like driving a car or something.
Yeah.
But, and of course, being a duo, then backing all the singers, it's so having a bass player, my left foot was the bass. But I when I was 15, I got a gig in a pub, the Alan Pussycat in Basildon, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I was still at school, and I was getting 25 quid for the weekend. Well, 25 quid in 1974 was...
That's pretty good.
That's almost more than half of an average man's salary, and I was still at school. It was incredible amount of money,
Yeah.
and that's when I thought, well, I'm going to do this for a living, and I did. I come out of school with... I was the class clown. Probably we all were, I didn't take it seriously. They just let me do what I wanted.
Yeah, so you weren't academic at all. You just wanted to play your music, and that's where you were heading, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, in junior school, I was, academic enough to, in those days, they would, they'd do an exam and they'd tell you where you came. And a couple of times I came first in the class, and maybe I was supposed to be an academic, but I did eventually go to university when I was 36, but that's another story, and you can talk about that if you want. But as soon as I started playing and earning pretty good money, I thought, well, God, this is it. This is what I want to do. I love it,
Yeah.
And so I took it from there.
Eyes and teeth. In the group, Dave, you play the straight man. Is that right?
Yeah, more than I do the odd funny lines. And when we used to do the showbiz rap, it used to be called. We would do a rap where we'd all be doing impressions. So yeah, but generally, I'm the one who stands in the middle. I'm the one who has to remember the act because I'm the one cueing the other two.
You're feeding them. Yeah, it can be the hardest thing if you forget where you are. Then they've got to follow you. So
exactly, yeah. So, but yeah, and Harvey's very good at quite a good ad-libber, so he'll maybe jump in a few lines, in the course of an evening that might be topical, or that someone will say something in the audience, and he's pretty quick like that. And Brian's he's one of these people with sort of funny bones, if you like. He's funny to look at, and when he does his Donald Duck,
oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, You complement each other because you all look different, don't you? All three of you, but you complement each other in the group. It's a good collection of lads.
Yeah. So it was. We've definitely missed not working since March. We haven't done a gig at all.
Ah, of course.
We could have done some gigs in August and lately, like you have, but Harvey. He didn't want to risk coming out. He's got elderly parents, and I think he sees them every day.
Yeah, vulnerable. That's sad.
He just said, "I'm sorry, I'm not prepared to work." And we didn't argue. We just said, "No, absolutely understand. That's your right to say that." And so we could have worked, but we haven't. So.
Yeah, there's three in the group, and I guess you've got to respect the decision, don't you? And it's difficult. We've lost two great double act performers this year with Eddie Large and then Bobby Ball. So it's really sad for Sid and Tommy to lose. It's been in a duo, but in your case, a trio, it is like a marriage, isn't it? And if one of you stop, I guess it's really tricky to. Do we fill that space, or do we carry on as we are? And it's difficult when there's three of you, isn't there, to consider. But do you all agree? You all agree on things a lot. I mean, you get on great like brothers, and you understand each other.
It's a peculiar arrangement at times because I'm an only child, so Brian, if you like, who we've been together, as I say, 44 years now.
Wow.
He's sort of like a brother, really, because we always know exactly what each other's thinking, but we don't share any. All the three of us do not share any interests at all outside of Triple Cream.
Not even the Beach Boys.
No, not even the Beach Boys. Musically, Harvey likes Bowie and and Pink and Bjork and stuff I'm not interested at all. Brian, he likes sort of similar stuff to me. We both like big band swing.
Yeah.
But both of them hate with a passion any form of sport. Where I love all sport. I play golf. I'm a massive
Watch football.
West Ham United fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those two hate it.
Well, sadly, I think I'm on their side. Sadly, I'm not into any sort of sports. I used to love watching my dad and brother play darts, but darts is the only sport in my life, I'm afraid. But I guess everyone's different. But if you can get on, at work, so would you not sort of socialise out of work hours? Have you all got different mates, or do you sometimes get together?
Yeah, no, we don't at all. I mean. For example, if you take the Rats as an example, the walk with you and I are both members of the Walk Rats.
Yes.
I think Brian would secretly like to be
okay.
part of that, and maybe he will be one day. Although he's very much into close-up magic, and I think he's joined the Magic Circle, or certainly the Brotherhood of Magicians, or whatever they're called. So he's got that as an outside interest.
Yeah.
Whereas, quite often, when we were touring, like you've done all the Haven parks and you go on the road for, the whole summer season virtually, although we would get back home most nights because three of us could share the driving. But invariably, Harvey would pick me up because I'm the one in the middle. We'd meet Brian and we'd say, "How are you? Fine." Probably within 10 minutes, all the headphones would go in. We'd be listening to what we want to listen to, get to the gig, do the gig, start the drive home, put the headphones back in.
Really?
No words.
So one of you's listened to Just a Minute, one's got the Archers on, and the other one's listening to the football results.
Yeah, that's it. You got it. Yeah. And
oh wow, that's interesting.
We never socialised outside of the but we all knew all the way through, even with Mick and even Steve Everington, we always knew that, not like any other band, like my son's in bands, and they deck all the time. a different drummer one week, and a different bass player.
Okay.
We always said, you're not allowed to be ill, and you're not allowed to ever put a dap in. And
All right.
so that's how we've done our business. We've always shared everything completely and utterly 3 ways.
Yeah.
Including the purchase of vehicles, and even if Harvey needs a new bass, it comes out of the band fund. He doesn't buy it.
Sure.
We all own it.
Yeah, but it's an honest
that's
partnership,
the way-
isn't it? Like a band of brothers
Yeah.
type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and although we might not have socialised together or in any other way been friends or anything, and maybe when we eventually stop, we won't see each other for years on end. But we all knew, all the 3 of us were good for each other, business wise, and that's what's kept us together,
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. I mean, when you talk about sort of socialising, then I've got to know you during the Water Rats, and that's been really nice to get to know you. And we 2 years ago went to Switzerland to the Chaplin Museum, and that was an amazing, getting to know your Water Rat brothers and just having a great time. And
it was great, and it's just been so sad this year. That's one of the saddest bits, not being able to meet our fellow Water Rats, and that's particularly some of the guys that are not as lucky as you and I, that have got families that have been quite lonely, but
it's important staying in touch. Yeah, I mean, we did start to do a few quizzes, didn't we, Dave, at the beginning? Do you remember that, the WhatsApp group in March, April?
Yeah.
That was good fun. We've not done any since. I think people just want to talk. We just want to connect, and sometimes if you want somewhere to go, you just delve in and delve out again, like Jess Conrad.
Sure.
So you who was your proposer into the Rats?
My proposer at the time was Prince Rat, Ian Richards.
Okay.
I've known Ian a long time through the cabaret circuit.
Golf.
And golf. The Comedians Golf Society was another thing that we were both in. I still am, actually. I'm the chairman of the Comedians Golf Society as well. Although it's not what it used to be, but what is these days. But and,
tricky.
My second was Roger de Courcy.
Oh, mine too. Mine was Roy Hudd and Roger de Courcy, and so it was. It's nice to have Roger seconding me, which is nice for a fellow vent.
Yeah, funny enough, the night that you became a Rat, your initiation, I was there doing the first visit, I think.
Really? Yeah. Oh, wow.
Because I do remember seeing Roy Hudd there and thinking, oh, look, it's Roy Hudd, and I'd always been a fan of his. And,
it's always amazing, isn't it, when you started to come in, you started to look around the room when you join, and you think, you sat in here with like these sitcom legends, these music legends. You got Rick Wakeman across the room, Nicholas Parsons, and fellow comedians and stuff. And we're all brought together, and it's just like the history of this business in one room, and it is amazing. I do miss that.
I know, and people say, what you call night to London for on a Sunday and sit with a load of lovelies? And I go, well, I'll tell you why, because one minute you're sitting next to a guy that's been doing Punch and Judy on Blackpool Pier all his life, and next minute you're talking to Bobby Roberts, whose whole life revolved around
circus.
The circus.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. And next minute I'm talking to my bloody boyhood hero, Rick Wakeman, and Rick's telling gags to him, and he's telling gags to me. And I'm picturing myself thinking it's Rick Wakeman, for God's sake,
Even Derek Martin and his egg jokes, and I spoke to Derek yesterday. He listened to one of my podcasts, bless him, and he just phoned me up to say thanks for the podcast. It's nice to know that you can connect through people by just talking or listening to someone else talk like this. And Derek, in Lodge, Derek makes me laugh so much. But on the Water Rats group, he probably posts about 10 jokes a day, and he's... they may be cheesy, but he makes you smile, and it's very important these days to do that.
Isn't it just?
Yeah.
Just definitely. Those days will come back next year at some point.
Oh, I hope we get back. And our poor King Rat this year, Dougie Brown, bless him, he didn't have a chance, did he, to carry on after February? That was it. But we'll look forward to a brand new meeting, a brand new year. You tell us about your time in Bermuda. You went out there for a year in Bermuda.
We did, yeah. So, sort of the chronology of, if you like, of, I told you about, we did Op Knox in 1989, we did, in 91 we did Opportunity Knox, and then 92 and 93 were another 2 big years for us. We did a summer season, a 17-week summer season, the old sort of fashion summer season on Sandown Pier on the Isle of Wight.
Isle of Wight, yeah, great theatre that.
Yeah, 16 dancers. Richard Goodell was the illusionist one year, and we were sort of top of the bill. There was no names on it because both shows had as a theme. The first show was called Time of Our Lives.
Okay,
And the
proper summer season.
It was called Tribute to Hollywood.
Nice.
And it was produced by Dave Banniger, who used to be the drummer in the Barron Knights.
Okay.
So we loved that, and that was another new, if you like, still our career was on the up. We were thinking, this is great. And then while we were on the Isle of Wight, an agent phoned and said, look, I've got a club who's interested in taking you guys for his restaurant nightclub in Bermuda. Are you interested? And my wife took the call, and she said, yes, they are. Without asking. And I went over there in the October for a recce to see what I thought of it. The guy had come over and see one of our shows on the Isle of Wight. Funnily enough, he saw the show on the Isle of Wight, and afterwards, when we saw him in the bar afterwards, he said, well, I don't really think you are my cup of tea really for what I want. He said, I want something a bit more, it's all a bit twee, because our show was, if you like, designed for quite old people that were coming to this show. And I said, well, look, if you want to see Chalk and Cheese, tomorrow night, we're at Point Clear Holiday Park in Clacton. I said, and it will be very different to what you just see. He said, oh yeah, I'll come to that. Anyway, it came to the next night at the Clacton roughest holiday park going, where we were taking the piss out of the audience. We were making fun of members of the audience for your podcast edit. And he said afterwards, it's exactly what I want. I want all that. He said, yeah, he said, come over and spend a week in October, and then if you're happy and we'll sign the thing and come and join us in the March and go through to the end of the year. So we did, and that was an experience, working to mainly Americans. And,
that's incredible. Wow.
My daughter was born there in the July, but sadly things went a little bit wrong. We fell out with our employer, this guy. He didn't renew our work permit, which ran out at the end of September. And just before I went, I said, look, you've contracted us to the end of October, but the work permit ends 3 months before that. He said, oh, no, don't worry, all the expats here, we just renew them, And I took him at his word, and of course...
Yeah, they let you down.
He said, oh, I don't know if I can unless you reduce your fee somewhat,
Ah, really? So once he got you there, he had you? Yeah.
Yeah, he got lawyers, we got lawyers, and he did me a favour in the end, because to cut a very long story short, I was so frustrated. I said to my wife, you know what you want to say with law, but you have to get a bloody lawyer to say it. Anyway, when I got back January 95, on the doormat was a correspondence course for a GCSE course in law. So I did that, took the exam in June, really enjoyed it, did a year's evening classes doing A-level, got my A grade for A-level in 96, and then I phoned up my local university and said, can I come as a mature student? I was 36 years old. They said, yeah. In those days, you didn't have to pay. So I graduated in 99 with a 2-1 degree in law, and then my ego took over, so I went and did a barrister's course part-time. Cost me 10,000 quid.
Blimey.
And in 2001, at the age of 43, I was called to the bar as a barrister, believe it or not.
Amazing. I do believe it. I can't believe you've done that. Wow.
And then I taught part-time in the local colleges. In fact, it wasn't part-time in the end. I sort of climbed through to all the management levels at the local college, and I took a redundancy from that in 2016. But they were quite hard years, because I was still gigging every night and working law every day. But they were good. I did it so I could pay back.
Yeah,
of
course, man. Wow.
Doing this course, and I knew I'd never want to be a practicing barrister because I was too old to start at the bottom doing that. But it was all a hobby, which I loved every minute of it.
Oh, it's brilliant, mate. It's all about hard work, isn't it, though? Working hard and...
Yeah, so any of your listeners might be... It's never too late to learn. I was 36 when I went to university, so never too late.
Mate, I'm looking for a new job next year, so I'm going to be looking into some new courses and stuff. But amazing. I'm sorry to hear, that time you had out in Bermuda with the band. I'm sorry to hear that the guy who played the triangle disappeared as well. That's sad.
Yeah.
like you never done that gag when you were there. You probably did.
Great times.
Dave, thank you so much.
Take care, mate. Cheers. See you soon.
Speak soon. Bye. Bye.
Eyes and Teeth.
Thanks, Dave. Everyone knows a Dave, don't they? They're good mates to have, Daves. If you want to see more of Triple Cream, then check out www.triplecream.com. The band were about to embark on a brand new tour, paying tribute to Chaz and Dave. This would have been a fab night of entertainment, so look out for it in the future, and more on the boys when we're all back on the road. Today's comedy quote comes from Charlie Chaplin. Today's water rat and comedy quote comes from Charlie Chaplin. I remain just one thing, and one thing only, and that is a clown. It places me on a far higher plane than any politician. Eyes and Teeth is written, produced and hosted by Steve Hewlett. Vocals provided by Lola, Larissa and Nina Hewlett. Special guest vocals by Rich T. Eyes and Teeth music and jingles are produced and performed by Kevin Dean. Listen in next time to Eyes and Teeth, the Water Rats, when I'll be talking to the one and only Keith Simmons.